Do you really know just how heavy 24 hours of metal music really is? About the weight of your mobile phone. Download our free andrewhogue.com iPhone and Android apps now. That way, you'll never be far away from us. This is andrewhogue.com, still Australia's only 24/7 metal radio station, recently celebrating our 10-year anniversary. And last time I was sitting face to face with this great man was 2019, the Download Festival. But here we are in 2022 at the Good Things Festival. We have Joakim Brodén, I probably got it wrong, I tried, from SABATON. Welcome back to Australia, Joakim.
Thank you. Good to be back.
It is good to be back. And I know, as we mentioned off the air, about we all sort of lost a couple of years to some respects of what sort of has occurred. But what I've noticed with SABATON the last several years, you're incredibly prolific with, releasing a lot of music regularly. Like the last record, well, obviously you put out the Water Ends All Wars this year, and then the Great War was 2019. So there's not a huge gap between sort of music. So you're very, very prolific and consistent.
Yeah, I mean, we also have some singles we released in between there.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of music, but as we said, the pandemic sort of put a halt on the touring that we normally would have done on the previous album, The Great War.
Yeah.
And we figured, what are we going to do with ourselves for 2 years if we can't do music? We're going to kill ourselves. So we decided to make another album, and we did some extra singles and stuff. And we got some more stuff coming in the pipeline that's been recorded already as well.
Well, that's what happened during that time. I noticed with a lot of bands that they, again, the luxury of home studios now, people just had if I can't create out in the open public, I'm just going to keep creating in my studio, and that's why a lot of bands end up coming out with a lot of new records now. I just noticed there was another new single that came out in late September called Father. You said it's part of a 3-part trilogy titled The Echoes of the Great War?
Yep.
Every title has the word war in the title, which means it's going to be an endless amount of lyrical inspirations. Tell us a bit about this up-and-coming trilogy EP.
It's like 3 EPs where there are collections. They're a collection of, all the songs we have from the Great War era, from World War I. And each release is also accompanied with new music as well. So there's going to be a sort of a collection of stories of everything we covered from the Great War, because at this time we've done 2 concept or sort of themed albums about World War I. And on top of that, we got earlier songs that we released from World War I era. Price of a Mile, Cliffs of Gallipoli, Angels Calling and such.
Now, like I said, because you kind of get a history lesson when you listen to the music of SABATON. I certainly do. I just sort of see the lyrics and some of the song titles. You're like, wow, you really go back in time and now look at present day, and to a degree, the last couple of years was somewhat of a psychological war on a lot of people as far as coping with a situation that we weren't prepared for. And it kind of makes you think that people who did it back in the day did it far worse, so what did you notice when you went through that situation the last couple of years? Because you're aware of all the research you've done on past histories of war, knowing that there was far stronger resilience back then than kind of what the society has become today, a lot weakened, I've noticed.
But we've been fortunate enough to live through very, very good times. I mean, there's always a conflict going on at about a dozen places around Earth at any given time in history, I guess. And however, I guess for both us in Europe, you guys down here, you haven't been involved in anything for the, let's say, past 70 years or something.
Absolutely,
like that. And I guess easy times, and this is the first real wake-up call we had, I guess, the pandemic then.
Big time. So with your knowledge and research over the years, are you seeing any sort of patterns of anything, I guess, in the foreseeable future? Because I know there's people that have written books about what they think is happening, and all of a sudden, yes, I knew something was, some philosopher said this thing was going to happen, and boom. What do you see in the future of the crystal ball of Joakim?
Oh, you're going to have to ask somebody much, much smarter than me. But there is one thing I can lean on other people's expertise, Hans Rosling being one of them.
Yep.
And I would recommend anyone to read the book Factfulness, because the world is actually becoming a better place, as opposed to what people are thinking. Fewer and fewer people are, leaving poverty. Less children are going to bed hungry. More people are getting educated. So in some ways, things are worse, yes. But if you look at evolution of a man over the past 100, 200, 300, no matter how far you go, back you go.
We're in a better place.
We're in a better place, except for a few dips, of course. There's going to be huge, massive conflicts that will...
And it also depends on where you source your information. Like mainstream is just really all about the negative and the fear. And I mean, I switched off for 2 years because I was just like, I ain't watching this. So like I said, we are in a better place. It's just, let's just keep bringing all the doom and gloom. And that's, again, it gets into a lot of people's, you know, subconscious. And that's when the panic starts to happen. And like I said, a lot of people were incredibly affected by the last couple of years psychologically.
Yeah, but it's a vicious cycle going on. And I mean, I'm not screaming fake news or in any way here, but for somebody to click on something, you need to scare them or get their attention. And the most effective way is to scare us or so we'll click that link no matter what kind of new... Yeah, exactly. And any magazine these days needs those clicks to survive.
Exactly.
So it's an infinity loop of hell.
Absolutely. And how did the rest of the band members, you know, cope with the whole situation? Because you're a pretty tight-knit group, you guys, over the years. So, you know, you sort of come together and go, okay, well, let's just continue to create. We've got a lot of history books to write another 16 albums on war.
We were not running out of material, that's for sure. We were kind of lucky. Scandinavia didn't do very hard lockdowns or anything. We were very relaxed about the pandemic. And for me, I could still go to the shops. Sometimes I'd have to wear a mask, but no real lockdowns really. And our lives went on as normal. And I guess for me, writing music, I mean, I sit in the studio myself most of the time anyway, or I go to Sweden and I sit down with Chris, our guitar player, and we write some songs together. Yeah.
And just with the whole, like I said, I know the pandemic is pretty much a big topic for a lot of people, but as far as the live situation, did you miss that? Because you were a massive live band, especially in Europe, and having such a strong fan base. And again, a lot of people miss those because we are, again, humans that connect. So how did you guys cope with not being able to get out and really connect with people? Because you tour a lot, so...
Yeah, we normally do over 100 shows a year, and... not being able to do that was a bit hard after a while. I mean, in the beginning, we figured, well, when we didn't have so much data about the disease and what was going on, we decided to, you know, let's start writing music. And as soon as I did that, I went into album making mode, and that was pretty similar. So, I mean, the pandemic didn't affect the songwriting really at all. However, as we recorded the album, which was done in a normal way anyway, and we started making music videos. And that's when I noticed, because then I wasn't busy all the time. So I didn't think about it too much while writing or recording the album. But afterwards, it was like, okay, and now we wait for a year until we release the album.
How do you find now touring again? Because I know a lot of bands are still struggling, you know, like financially it's affecting a lot of bands with inflation and costs. Some bands are cancelling tours because everywhere things are just going up in price. So... Again, as a surviving band, I mean, you know, how are you coping with that sort of change and dealing with all that? Oh,
it's tricky in a sense. A lot of us, not only us, but a lot of bands have tours with tickets sold a long time ago that have been postponed.
For reschedule,
And those tickets are sold with a special calculation in mind, that these are our costs. And that's what we need to be able to make. So there's the reason as well for a lot of bands that even if they sold out a show, they're going to lose money. Because of the increased costs.
Exactly.
So it is a bit of a struggle for a lot of bands. Luckily enough, we're not in danger of becoming bankrupt. So for us, it's more of a situation, luckily enough, that we aren't really making much money, but we aren't, on the other hand, on the brink of extinction either, you know.
Yeah, you're not, the Titanic hasn't sunk of the mighty SABATON. So let's talk heavy metal. What did you listen to throughout those last couple of years? You just go back to the classics, or you got a couple of new things you keep your ear to?
A little bit of everything, actually. Funny you mentioned classics, because I went more into classical music as well.
Okay.
And really reaffirmed that Johann Sebastian Bach is the best composer to have ever lived, and the rest of us can just stop trying.
Did any of that inspire you as far as musical compositions for Sabaton's music?
Well, yes and no. I mean, in a sense, anything that will give me an emotional response, I can take that emotion and turn it into a piece of Sabaton music, but I can't really work with riffs or chord progressions because I end up stealing shit. So I have to sort of work with the...
But Malmsteen's been doing that for years.
Yeah, exactly. No, and where were we? We were talking about...
classics. When I meant classics, there's more classic heavy metal,
yes.
but you talk classical. But
I
what's some of your go-to albums still where you just go, yeah, I can't never not go back to that album?
Oh, that's going to be Rainbow Rising or Long Live Rock and Roll.
What is it about those albums? Because, like I said, newer generations come and people still gravitate to the classics where they just go, even if they weren't even born at that time.
Yeah.
What do you think it was at that era that still holds today, regardless of production and budgets of albums sounding whatever they were, but what do you think those albums are still revered as classics? What is it about them that just makes you go, fuck, I just wish I was born in 77?
I wish I knew. But in a sense, it's good songs, and we are talking about an era, I guess, where music recording technology had gotten far enough for the first time to sort of realize that vision. And we're not so far that you're overproducing, which I'm not going to point any fingers here, but especially in metal, there's a lot of bands who sound awesome, actually. But if you scale back that production or everything that's been added, it's not really a great song sometimes.
Yeah, true.
Unfortunately. So, and I think you couldn't hide stuff like that back in those days.
Well, that's the thing. Like, most of them went in there and just had to play their best. And that's it, budget restrictions. And I think that's what gives it that urgency. Like I said, you listen to the early Van Halen albums as an example, no click track, just get in there and and you can really feel what they were doing. That's why I hear a lot of bands go, yeah, I wish I could go back to that time. Not just regardless of the production, but just the overall feel that those albums still project when you listen back to them, because people go, man, those times, Whereas everything today is snap to the grid perfection. As soon as you hear a mistake, everyone's like, oh, that's bad. How did they let that go through? But that's the thing. They didn't have that luxury,
No. And, it's not too overly compressed. Doesn't fatigue your ears if you're listening to it.
Yeah, the loudness wars.
Yep.
I think that's starting to backswing, which is good, because there was some just serious brick walls going on there as well.
Yeah. We call them fat sausages.
One straight across the grid. All right, well, we haven't got you too long, so we can get you to choose one of your favourite tracks from the latest album, and even just one of your favourite classic heavy metal songs that we just talked about, Joakim.
All right. I'll do, from our latest album, I'll do Stormtroopers, because it's fun and fast. And a classic, wow. Now, am I going to go with Rainbow, Accept, Judas Priest?
Do you have anything you play before you go onto a show? I know some people walk around in the dressing room with headphones on, getting in the zone with some classic AC/DC or whatever, but anything
that's always good.
You listen to, or you get into the zone?
Actually, we do have a funny playlist sometimes that we go through, but that could be stuff that gets us in the mood. It doesn't necessarily have to be metal. There is metal there for sure, but there might be other stupid shit there as well. I really wouldn't talk about.
You want to tell me one of them? Or they're all just Swedish?
Swedish Eddie Meduza for anyone who knows, but it could be stuff like that.
Okay. So classic heavy metal, which one do you want to go with?
I guess Gates of Babylon.
Yeah,
Rainbow.
Classic.
Yeah.
Cozy Pal.
Oh, yes.
All right, well, all the best with Sabaton, and keep us posted, and we'll do what we can to continue supporting your music on andrewhogue.com.
Thank you very much.
Let's hear some music.